Taiwan stands at the heart of the global economy. This small island of 24 million people produces over 60% of the world's semiconductors. These tiny chips power everything from smartphones to military missiles. For advanced logic chips, those smaller than 10 nanometers, Taiwan commands over 90% of global production. These chips drive artificial intelligence, data centers, and modern weapons systems. A single Javelin anti-tank missile, for example, relies on over 250 semiconductor chips. Without Taiwan, the modern world would grind to a halt. This dominance forms what many call the Silicon Shield, a defense strategy rooted in economic necessity. The idea is simple but powerful. Taiwan's role in chip production makes it too valuable to lose. Any disruption, like an invasion, would devastate global economies, deterring adversaries and ensuring allies, especially the United States, protect the island. But cracks are forming. Recent moves by the United States raise a question. Is America strengthening this shield or breaking it apart? In 1987, a company changed the world from a small island. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, known as TSMC, introduced the pure-play foundry model. Unlike Intel, which designed and built chips in-house, TSMC offered to manufacture chips for others. This allowed companies like Nvidia, Qualcomm, and Apple to focus solely on design. The result was a revolution. The fabless semiconductor industry exploded, freeing innovators from the massive costs of building factories, or fabs. TSMC mastered the complex process of chipmaking, which takes up to 24 weeks and over 1,400 steps to transform a silicon wafer into a finished chip. By pursuing Moore's law, doubling transistor counts every 2 years, TSMC pushed technology forward. Today, TSMC holds over 55% of the global foundry market. For the most advanced chips, TSMC and South Korea's Samsung are the only players. This dominance gave Taiwan leverage, making it indispensable to the world. The Silicon Shield protects Taiwan in 2 ways. First, it deters China. China relies on Taiwan for 70% of the chips needed for its electronics industry, which produces 90% of global smartphones and over 50% of personal computers. An invasion would destroy TSMC's factories, as former chairman Mark Liu warned they would become inoperable in conflict. This would cripple China's economy, risking the stability of the Communist Party. Second, the shield ensures American intervention. The United States depends on TSMC for 92% of its advanced chips. A disruption would threaten military readiness, as weapons like Javelin missiles rely on Taiwanese chips. A Rhodium Group study estimates a Taiwan blockade could cost the global economy over $2 trillion. The U.S.-Taiwan Business Council suggests the United States alone could lose nearly $1 trillion. This makes Taiwan's stability a matter of American national security, not just geopolitics. This balance held firm. Taiwan's chip dominance kept adversaries at bay and allies committed. The United States designed cutting-edge chips, while Taiwan built them with unmatched precision. This interdependence created a global system where Taiwan thrived as a technological fortress. But beneath the surface, risks loomed. Taiwan's dominance concentrated critical technology on one island, making the world vulnerable to disruptions. A single earthquake or geopolitical crisis could halt production. The fragility of this system stayed hidden until a global shock exposed it. The question lingered. What happens if the shield weakens, not from an enemy, but from an ally? In 2021, the world faced a crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic triggered a global chip shortage. Factories shut down, supply chains faltered, and demand for electronics soared. Cars, phones, and computers sat unfinished, waiting for chips. The shortage revealed a hard truth: the world relied too heavily on Taiwan. The United States, once a chip-making leader, now produced only 10 to 12% of global semiconductors. Taiwan's 60% share, and 90% for advanced chips, became a glaring vulnerability. Congress and corporate leaders called it a dangerous dependence. The United States could not afford to rely on a single island across the Pacific, especially one under constant threat from China. This realization sparked a bold response, one that would reshape Taiwan's role. In August 2022, President Biden signed a landmark law. The CHIPS and Science Act allocated $280 billion to revive American chipmaking. Of this, $52.7 billion went to subsidies and tax credits to build factories on American soil. The goal was clear: reduce reliance on Taiwan and secure the supply chain. TSMC, lured by $6.6 billion in grants and $5 billion in loans, announced a massive project in Arizona. The investment grew from $12 billion to over $65 billion. American officials hailed it as a win for resilience and jobs. But in Taiwan, a different story emerged. Many saw this as a threat to the Silicon Shield, a move that could erode the island's strategic value. In Taipei, a phrase began to echo: Taokong, or hollowing out. Critics feared the United States was extracting Taiwan's greatest asset, its chip industry. Opposition politicians, like Kuomintang lawmaker Fu Kun-kai, voiced alarm. Fu asked, if TSMC becomes an American company, where does that leave Taiwan's security? Former President Ma Ying-jeou called it a national security crisis, accusing the government of selling TSMC to the United States. The concern was not just about factories. TSMC sent thousands of engineers to Arizona, along with their families. Over 200 babies were born to these families in Phoenix, showing the scale of the relocation. This sparked fears of a brain drain, siphoning away Taiwan's talent and weakening its industrial ecosystem. Hsinchu Science Park explains Taiwan's dominance. This cluster concentrates suppliers, vendors, and engineers within miles of each other. The proximity enables unmatched efficiency and problem-solving speed. TSMC benefits from a high-pressure work culture, with engineers working 12-hour days and responding to emergencies at any hour. Replicating this in Arizona proved difficult. American workers, accustomed to different norms, clashed with Taiwanese managers. Reports described friction, with Taiwanese engineers calling Americans less dedicated. American workers filed lawsuits, alleging discrimination in a toxic environment. These cultural gaps delayed the Arizona project. Production, planned for 2024, slipped to 2025. A second factory's timeline moved from 2026 to 2028. TSMC founder Morris Chang warned that American factories could cost 50 to 100% more than those in Taiwan. Other nations joined the race. South Korea, home to Samsung and SK Hynix, leads in memory chips. In 2022, 55% of South Korea's semiconductor exports went to China, its largest market. The CHIPS Act's rules, however, restrict recipients from expanding in China for 10 years. This forces South Korean firms to choose between American subsidies and their biggest market. South Korea responded with the K-CHIPS Act, offering tax credits to keep investment at home. The European Union launched a €43 billion CHIPS Act to double its market share by 2030. Japan offered to cover 50% of new factory costs. China, meanwhile, poured billions into its big fund, aiming to boost its mature node chip share from 34% in 2024 to 47% by 2027. This global rush risks a chip glut, where overcapacity could crash prices and render factories unprofitable. China's actions add pressure. In 2023, over a third of Taiwan's exports went to China, but China's share of Taiwanese chip imports dropped from 61.2% in 2020 to 53.8%. China's Made in China 2025 strategy aims to produce 70% of its chips domestically by 2025. In 2023, China achieved a breakthrough, producing a 7-nanometer chip. While still behind TSMC's 3-nanometer technology, China's progress reduces reliance on Taiwan. American export controls, expanded in 2022 and 2023, limit China's access to advanced technology. Yet China's focus on mature node chips, used in cars and equipment, is growing. This shift weakens one pillar of the Silicon Shield: China's dependence on Taiwan. some argue the silicon shield is not breaking but evolving. TSMC's Arizona factories create American jobs and tie Taiwan's fate to the United States. By 2030, the United States aims to produce 20% of advanced chips, but Taiwan will still hold 58%. TSMC has pledged to keep its most advanced research, 2nm and 1.6nm chips, in Taiwan. This ensures Taiwan remains the leader in cutting-edge technology. The CHIPS Act, in this view, deepens the alliance. TSMC's presence in Arizona makes it a domestic issue for American voters, especially in swing states. A 2023 U.S.-Taiwan Business Council report noted that replacing Taiwan's chip production would be nearly impossible for years. The United States will still need Taiwan for the next generation of technology. Yet the fear in Taiwan persists. Diversifying chip production reduces Taiwan's unique leverage. If the United States becomes less dependent, its incentive to defend Taiwan could weaken. Opposition leaders like Ko Ju-chun demand transparency on TSMC's deals with the United States. They worry Taiwan is trading its shield for an uncertain promise. The Arizona project's struggles highlight a deeper truth. Taiwan's advantage lies in its unique ecosystem. Hsinchu's efficiency, talent, and work culture cannot be replicated easily. The United States may build factories, but it will struggle to match Taiwan's edge. This raises a paradox. Diversification strengthens the global supply chain but risks diluting Taiwan's strategic value. The Arizona project teaches a lesson. Building advanced factories is costly and complex. TSMC's struggles in the United States show that Taiwan's success is not just about technology but culture and systems. The world now sees how hard it is to replace Taiwan. Even with billions in subsidies, the United States will rely on Taiwan for years. Bloomberg Economics estimates a Taiwan blockade would cost the global economy $5 trillion in the first year alone. This underscores Taiwan's enduring importance. The silicon shield may be decentralizing, but it is not vanishing. Taiwan's role as a technological powerhouse remains unmatched. Taiwan faces a gamble. By sharing its technology with the United States, Taiwan ties itself closer to its ally. But it also risks losing its unique leverage. The silicon shield once made Taiwan untouchable, a fortress of chips the world could not lose. Now, as factories rise in Arizona, Texas, Japan, and Germany, that fortress is spreading. The United States gains resilience, but Taiwan's role as the sole provider weakens. President Lai Ching-te insists TSMC's most advanced technology will stay in Taiwan. Yet critics like Fu Kun Kai warn of a hollowed-out future. The silicon shield is not broken, but it is changing. It is shifting from a single point of strength to a global network of interdependence. The world watches Taiwan closely. Its chips power the present and future. Artificial intelligence, supercomputers, and military systems all rely on Taiwan. The CHIPS Act aims to secure the supply chain, but it cannot replace Taiwan's ecosystem overnight. TSMC's Arizona factories will produce chips, but the most advanced work will remain in Hsinchu. The United States, China, and the world will still look to Taiwan for the next technological leap. The silicon shield is evolving, not into a weaker form, but into a new kind of defense, one built on integration, not isolation. Taiwan's challenge is to navigate this shift without losing its edge. The question remains: will this new shield hold as firmly as the old?